Another day at work, you open your inbox, 37 unread emails, 3 missed messages, 2 meetings you forgot about, and 1 issue that's been sitting there for 3 days. Not because it's complicated, not because it's impossible, just because you haven't gotten to it yet. So you tell yourself what we've all told ourselves. I'll deal with it tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next month. Then one day you're sitting in a conference room, listening to someone explain a problem that suddenly feels urgent. A customer is upset, a project is late, a team member is frustrated, a supplier missed a commitment, a quality issue has spread, and someone eventually asks, "How did we get here?" But that's the wrong question, because most organizational problems don't arrive suddenly, they arrive gradually. The issue wasn't hidden, the issue wasn't unknown, the issue was waiting for a conversation, waiting for a decision, waiting for someone to act. And every day we waited, the problem got a little more expensive. That's what today's episode is about. Not failure, not crisis, not poor leadership, the hidden cost of waiting. Because in leadership, delay has a price, and most leaders don't see the invoice until it's too late. Quick note before we begin. The views shared on Compass to Practice are my personal views and do not reflect those of my employer or any current or former company. I do not share confidential, proprietary, customer-specific, or employer-specific information on this podcast. Welcome to Compass to Practice, where leaders turn intention into behavior. I'm your host, Antonio Irizarry, and today's episode is called The Cost of Waiting: How Small Delays Become Big Problems. Today we'll discuss why leaders underestimate delay, how waiting quietly creates organizational debt, 3 real-world examples of delay multiplying consequences, a simple practice to identify waiting before it becomes expensive. Most leaders aren't procrastinating, they're prioritizing, or at least they think they are. The challenge is that delay rarely looks dangerous, it looks reasonable. A decision delayed one day feels harmless. A difficult conversation postponed until next week feels harmless. A hiring decision deferred another month feels harmless. A process issue pushed to next quarter feels harmless, because the consequences are invisible. At first. That's why delay is deceptive. The cost isn't immediate. The cost accumulates, like interest. The longer we wait, the more expensive reality becomes. Imagine a small leak in your roof, tiny, barely noticeable. You place a bucket underneath, problem solved. A month later, another bucket, then another. Eventually, the leak isn't the problem anymore. The damage is. The drywall, the insulation, the mold, the flooring, the repair bill. The leak was cheap, the waiting was expensive. Organizations work exactly the same way. Many leaders become experts at managing buckets, workarounds, heroics, overtime, special exceptions, temporary fixes. Eventually, the workaround costs more than the original problem, but by then, nobody remembers where it started. One of the most studied leadership failures wasn't caused by a lack of information, it was caused by normalization. Engineers had concerns, warnings existed, signals appeared repeatedly, nothing catastrophic happened immediately. So the concern became familiar, and familiar risks become invisible. This phenomenon is often called normalization of deviance. The organization slowly accepts a condition that would have seemed unacceptable years earlier. Not because people are careless, because people adapt. Delay creates acceptance. Acceptance creates vulnerability. In healthcare, many adverse outcomes aren't caused by incorrect diagnoses. They're caused by delayed diagnoses. The information exists, the treatment exists, the expertise exists, but time matters. Every day changes the outcome. The lesson is profound. Sometimes action quality matters. Sometimes action speed matters. The best leaders understand both. Kodak didn't fail because it couldn't see digital photography. Kodak invented much of it. The challenge wasn't awareness, the challenge was timing. The organization delayed difficult decisions because the current business still worked, until it didn't. Leadership isn't just seeing change. Leadership is acting before change becomes obvious. Because once everyone agrees, the opportunity is usually gone. For years, Nokia dominated the mobile phone market. They had talent, they had resources, they had market share, and they knew smartphones were coming. The challenge wasn't awareness, the challenge was commitment. As long as the existing business continued producing results, difficult decisions could wait. The company delayed moving aggressively enough while competitors moved faster. What makes this case powerful isn't that they missed the future, it's that they saw it. Many organizations don't fail because they can't see change. They fail because today's success makes tomorrow's decisions feel less urgent. That's the hidden danger of waiting. Success can become a sedative. The organization becomes comfortable managing the present while the future quietly passes by. Leadership requires the courage to act before the burning platform appears. Because by the time everyone agrees change is necessary, the competitive advantage is usually gone. Blockbuster had opportunities that most companies would envy. Strong brand, thousands of locations, millions of customers, and a front row seat to changing consumer behavior. They saw streaming, they saw digital distribution, they even had opportunities to participate in it. But every major transformation creates tension. The current business still generates revenue. The current model still works. The current system still rewards the existing way of operating. And that's when leaders face one of the hardest decisions in business. Do we protect today's profits or build tomorrow's business? Waiting often feels safer, but in reality, waiting is a decision to let time choose for you. And eventually, the market made the decision for Blockbuster, not because the threat was invisible, because the response arrived too late. Let's bring this closer to today. The explosion of artificial intelligence didn't happen overnight. For years, signals existed. Cloud computing expanded, data volumes exploded, machine learning applications increased, new chip architectures emerged. Meanwhile, companies like NVIDIA aggressively positioned themselves around the future demand for AI computing. The lesson isn't about any single company, it's about timing. Markets reward organizations that act while uncertainty still exists. Waiting until the opportunity is obvious often means arriving after the value has already been created. Leadership requires making decisions before perfect information arrives, because perfect information usually shows up after the advantage has disappeared. Notice the pattern: Challenger, Kodak, Nokia, Blockbuster, AI. Different industries, different decades, different leaders, the same lesson. The problem wasn't ignorance, the problem was delay. The signals existed, the conversations happened, the data was available. The question wasn't, did we know? The question was, why did we wait? And that's one of the most uncomfortable truths in leadership. Most failures don't begin with bad decisions. They begin with delayed decisions and false green. This then brings the question of clarity and humility of the leaders. This is why I wrote Narivia Rising. One of the themes in Narivia Rising is that organizations rarely collapse from a single event. They drift. Small compromises, small delays, small avoided conversations, small ignored signals. The danger isn't the individual decision, it's the accumulation. Every organization carries a backlog. The question is, how much of that backlog consists of things people already know need attention? That's where transformation begins. Not by finding new problems, by confronting old ones. The ones everyone can already see. The ones nobody owns. The ones everyone assumes someone else will address. That's leadership. The willingness to shorten the distance between knowing and acting. This week, perform a simple audit. Ask yourself, what issue have I known about for more than 30 days? What conversation have I postponed? What decision am I waiting to make? What risk am I managing with a workaround? Then ask, what would happen if I waited another 90 days? That question usually reveals the true cost. Remember, most organizational problems don't explode, they compound. The biggest risks are rarely hidden. They're waiting for someone to act, waiting for someone to decide, waiting for someone to lead. Because leadership isn't just about making good decisions, it's about making them before delay becomes the most expensive choice. Until next time, turn intention into behavior. Follow me on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you want more information, visit my website www.compasstopractice.com.